tell us, tell the audience a little bit about your journey. Who is Vikas? You know, we'll get into the Agile stuff in a few minutes, but let's let them know. Look behind the blinds of who Vikas is and what his life is about and what he loves.
Sure. Thank you, Shane, for the opportunity. So Vikas is husband of one for 21 years, father of three daughters. Eldest just had the bittersweet experience with. She just graduated out of high school, so just joined freshman and senior year. And then I have twin daughters who are seniors in elementary school, 5th grade. Wow. So it's a lot of fun for me.
Twins.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's me. That's how I define me today. With regards on this second half of me, where I spend most of my time when I'm not with family, I'm today a leadership coach, and I do a lot of that, and mentoring is what I engage with a lot more.
How did your Agile journey start? Where did it all happen for you? You're walking down the street one day and you're hit by lightning, or how did your journey begin?
So me realizing that I was in an Agile journey was a hit by lightning. But being born and brought up in an Indian community, in India, we have a word called jugaad, which means make things happen.
Okay. Jugaad.
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 Right? So it was life for me, negotiation, compromise, getting the best out of the least possible resources available, so bang for the buck, was something I grew up with, right? So it was, people used to call me the wheeler and dealer, people with this thing, you make things happen and stuff. So sometimes I would take it positively, other times I would like, is that a compliment, or are you actually saying something backhanded way? But in 2004, I was stuck in a place where 2002, 2004, I was the solution architect for the first 3G solution coming out with Hutchison Whampoa doing the 3 across the 7 countries at the same time, and I was a solution architect for the messaging piece, so video messaging, voice messaging, texting, and RFCs were not ready for it. Mm-hmm. We were still working on, we didn't know whether we'll go H323 or another VoIP, or how would we do it. However, our customer basically wanted the solution ready. How ready? We were supposed to deliver the solution ready October 2003. November 2002, we are going through a QA testing and stuff with the solution with RFC, a certain particular version of ratification, but not confirmed RFC yet, but the draft RFC. And November first week, the customer walks us in and says, sits me down as a solution architect, and from the core Nokia and Ericsson guys, we are sitting together, and he says, our marketing has had an epiphany, and we've come up with 2 decisions, and we need you guys to support us on that. Okay, go for it. So he says, basically, we've decided our company is going to be called 3, because we are the first company that's going to launch 3G. Second thing, the marketing has decided we have to launch on 3rd of March 2003. 333, because we are 3, we'll launch on 333. And I was stunned, literally. So how are you doing so far? In shock and hit by lightning. When the others in the room said, but how can that be? We don't have RFCs ratified. How are we going to make video calls? How are we going how can we deliver 3G service? You're taking 6 months out of our schedule, from October 2003 to March 2003, and we are sitting in November 2002, not too much to go. What do we do? So conversation, and we said, okay, we can give you this, but we won't give you whatever works in 2G, we can guarantee it will work on 3rd, but then they say it's not a 3G launch then, so what do we do? So at that time, the only brilliant thing that could strike my head was I said, Colin, how about this? You're accepting a draft version RFC right now. Video messaging is working, video calls are working, MMS is working. Let's take that, our release candidate for March. And any explicit defects on this, we'll update that for you, March readiness. From here on, we'll start updating with the RFCs we get, and our GA After launch, we'll keep updating the release. Will be October. Every month we'll give you an update. How does that work? Like, so that we are intact and marketing meets your needs, and we go. He says, that sounds right. Okay, let me go and see if marketing agrees, and we'll show them what we can do. That was the end of it, and that's exactly what we did. 3rd of March we launched, and October, and the rest is history. 3 is a very interesting and successful organization.
So 3 is it's not a US company, right?
No, it was the 7 countries were UK, Austria, Italy, Sweden, Thailand, Australia.
And where were you at the time?
I was based in London, Reading, UK.
Oh, okay.
So I was out of US. However, I was on expat because our company won this deal, so they asked me to relocate for 2 years into Europe.
So you didn't grow up in the UK?
No, I grew up in India, as I was saying earlier. And then I relocated to US. I started my career there. I was in US for 3-4 years before, on an expat contract, I came to UK for this particular deal.
So you were educated, I suppose, in India.
Yep.
You grew up. Did you start your work journey in India?
Yeah, the initial couple of years, 97 to 99, I was in India. Then 99, I came to US. 2002, I came to Europe. Went back to US in 2007.
So you've seen some quite different cultures. You know,
Yep.
India has a culture of its own.
Yep.
The UK has a culture of its own, and the US, well, actually, different parts of the US have their own cultures. As a foreigner looking in.
And when I was working in UK, as I said, I was working with 7 different countries at the same time. Architects and operations teams and everybody accepting the solution from 7 different countries.
How did moving between, or how has moving between those cultures changed the way that you work, the way that you do things? Has it changed the way you would do things?
See, as I said earlier about the foundations, right? Growing up in India with 16 explicit languages, right? With the diversity, a big thing in India, we say we grow up with unity in diversity. Diversity is very strong for us. So what I have grown up with is the attitude and the aptitude of adapting to different people of different kinds, different cultures all the time. So for me, it felt second nature. I don't know I had to put in extra effort. It was inherent in me reflectively now that I think, when you ask, because I never had to think about it. It came. And maybe it came because I was conditioned that way from my birth for 20 plus years while I was in India. So thinking of it, no, I didn't have to do anything explicit, but I think inherently what I grew up with, the only which way you can adapt is by paying attention first, observing the other people and then responding, right? So that was inherent, I think, and so it helped me. What I would say is having the additional experience that I got when I was in Europe for the 4 years, understanding the 7 different clients, so to say, 7 different organizations of the same client, or 7 different flavors, enriched me more. Because now I was not only dealing with intricacies of the variability of Indian culture, I was dealing at a global level, the variability of Asian, Australian, European, East European, all of that. So yes, my upbringing helped me appreciate that, but to respond, I had to probably learn new skills, and today I'm a more richer person for that, I think. Yeah.
Do you think that has impacted your Agile journey, being
Absolutely.
exposed to those cultures?
Absolutely, because it has always helped me to say that there's something new, right? So from day one, I never got comfortable in the space that I believe I've seen others be. Is like, yeah, I have grown up here for 20 years. Now I've worked in the same place for 20 years. And you tend to, as they say, rolling stone gathers no moss. While a stone sticks around, they have a lot of moss on it. So I think moss did not stick on me because of that. And one of the things that it helps me is be adaptive even today. Be open to new learnings, and I think that's what keeps me fresh.
And we were talking beforehand about scaling and how scaling is different. There's a number of frameworks out there for scaling. SAFe is one of them. Less, etc. Scrum at scale. As a coach, how does having a framework, whichever one it is, how does that help you? Help the organization?
Having a framework, more importantly, depends, right, on the framework. I have worked with applying less. I have worked applying the SAFe framework. I have worked applying DAD. I've worked Enterprise Scrum. So depends, right, which framework I am with at what time. I always said I'm a bartender. I have a lot to offer. A lot of drinks on this thing. What are you in the mood for? Right? So for me, when you say that you're in the mood for Scrum at scale, I'll bring you Scrum at scale from their perspective. And if you say that, no, I'm in the mood for that, I'll talk to you from that perspective. And truly, it is a perspective, or you say SAFe. Because when I sat down, and I have done this actually inherent work, the core values of all of these scaling frameworks is built into lean systems, lean thinking, and systems thinking. All right? It's good. Now, it's everyone's different manifestation on how they're implementing those core values coming from lean and this thing. So for me, I think depends on the present condition of the context, which state they're in, where they want to be, and why do they think this will suit them. Because for me, it does not matter which framework they choose, because they chose it because they like that flavor. Why do they like that flavor? Probably the word that they're using in that framework aligns better with their present cognitive bias. If it connects with their present cognitive bias, that is more critical to me than anything else, because now I have them engaged. Now I can take them on a journey to continuously improve. Because at the end, achieving success through any one of these frameworks is all about continuous improvement, relentless improvement, evolutionary change. To think that I have the answer up front when I'm working with them, it's a fallacy. I don't. What I do know is what's the next step, given what I know their present state is. But only once we take the next step, when I get feedback from that, can I say, what's the next step after that? I have an idea what the intent to achieve is, but I don't know how to get there, because there are multiple roads to everything. Which is the perfect road for them? I don't know till I work with them.
So everybody's journey is different.
Everybody's journey is different, even if they have the same goals, right? It's very simple, right? I have 3 daughters, and I learned my coaching best with them. I couldn't parent all 3 of them the same way. They all 3 have a different journey, even if they are all my daughters, right? So to think 3 organizations in the same industry type have the same journey, we are only fooling ourselves.
Do you think there is a trend in the industry as a whole, in the Agile consulting industry as a whole, to try to squeeze companies into the same journey, to try to create a one true journey?
There are people who are trying that, and my hypothesis is because they don't know any different. They truly are stuck in that syndrome. This is what got me here. This is what will get me there. But what life has initially taught people with growth mindset who are always learning is that, no, what got me here will not get me there. The training I need to do to be a 5K runner is very different than the training I need to do to be a 10K runner. It's a very different training I need to do to be a half marathoner, very different to be a marathoner. And again, if I want to be a triathlon, it's a total, I cannot build on that training. I cannot say that I'll just build myself, once I've done 5K, I can build onto it to be a half marathoner. I have to reinvent my training plan, I have to reinvest in it and rethink it. To say that I have built myself 10 sailboats, so I'll put them together and I'll have one ship, doesn't work. And a lot of places is doing this, that let's build 10 teams, Agile teams together, now we'll bring them together and they'll be a train. That doesn't work. And if you really want them to be one culture, one thing, you have to initiate them that in that way, starting, because tribal identity is key. If I create an identity of me, and that's the resistance we face anywhere we go, what's coming back at us? I'm a project manager, and you say that project manager is not going to exist. I have fear. Maslow's law, number one, safety first. If you don't give me safety, I'm not going to think about food even. I need safety, then food. I have these two things, only then I'm going to think about the community. That may be my team, that may be my team of teams, that may be my scale, portfolio, whatever. But till you give me these two things, so what happens when we go on big room planning or we do any big things? What's the first feedback we get from any of these? Coffee was cold.
Yes.
I didn't have food,
food.
right?
Yeah.
What is it telling us? That the room is not one team yet. They are not thinking community. They are still stuck in Maslow's law of safety and food. Once we give that, we start dissolving their fears, we start helping them evolve out of that, is when they will start trying to connect to be a community. Just to say that I put you all together, thereby you are a team, it's a fallacy.
If let's say I'm starting on my Agile journey, I'm a reasonable sized company, and I've got offices in India and in China and in Europe and in the US, and I'm thinking about should I take an Agile journey and how should I pursue it? What are the things that serve me well in terms of what should I be seeking? What sort of outcomes should be at the top of my list as I start my journey into Agile with my teams around the world?
So the first thing I advise anyone is not to think about, do I need Agile or not? You need to ask, what are my pain points? And never go for Agile, go for agility. And for me, there is a subtle difference. Agile has, the word itself has some baggage with it today. It's been used as a noun, it's been used as a verb, it's been used as an adjective. So if they say that I want to go Agile, my first thing is, great, tell me what do you mean by it? I cannot even start comprehending your journey or talking to you about what your next step is till you tell me what does the word Agile mean. And when they explain the word Agile, what it means to them, I say, okay, why do you want to be there? What are you missing today that you want to get and you think this is going to give you that, right? Till they answer those things, it's not very helpful for me to be helpful to them. And it comes to me from experience of observing doctors, experiencing plumbers, observing carpenters. Invite any one of these. Either you walk into a doctor's office, the first question he asks, why are you here? On a scale of 1 to 10.
How do you feel? Yeah.
How painful is it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They're asking me questions about your context. Doctors are asking about the patient's context. They're asking about the pain point. They're not talking about, oh, do you need an antibiotic? Or do you need an antivirus? They're not offering the solution. Never. Till they've asked the context, and then they want to diagnose the context. They figure out before they even suggest an option. And so that's why, for me to give that answer, yes, you've given me some of the context that they're a very distributed organization, multinational across the globe, but I still know on a scale of 1 to 10, how painful are they today?
If I have because you've got such an international experience, if I have an international organization and I'm building Agile, let's use SAFe for an example, I'm building Agile release trains, what are the things that I should be focusing on to help that international organization function better?
First and foremost, figure out why do you want to build the Agile release train, right? What's that core intent? Two things, right? One, intent that will pass through that Agile release train, which we call as the solution vision or the program vision, and then we'll evolve and slice it down into features and deliverables. But more importantly also, what's the intent of the Agile release train as a system on, right? What am I doing the intent? Because I could have chosen not to do the ART, Agile release train. I could have chosen to just keep them as team of teams. I could have chosen them to be one big project team. Why am I choosing it this way? Is it because I know the core values of the ART will work for me? Transparency, built-in quality, program execution, alignment. or I believe that their principles that they follow will work for me. Need to appreciate that, and that's what I would say the first thing when somebody's asking me about art, and like ask that question, why? And if it is one of those two things, great. Is it a third thing, the core competency? Have them ground on those three things, the values, the core competencies and principles, before I start their journey. Because if they are not aligned to that, very soon what will happen? If they are successful, I'm lucky. If they're not successful, it was Vikas's fault. He recommended to go ART. So till they ground on why they want the ART, it doesn't help me to launch. And I, generally speaking, when I hear that from someone, I have that conversation and get them ready. It's not a long period. I appreciate it's 100 people, so it's cost of delay is involved in every person's money. So it's a conversation of 2 to 4 weeks. In the scheme of things, given the multinational nature of the organization and all, which is already spending 70 plus million, $100 million on their train a year, I think 2 weeks of that identification is well worth the money. They can decide how to persevere on that journey or pivot now rather than spend the money and then pivot.
If you're in SPCT, so you have in addition to all the other immense Agile experience you have, you're one of the premier Agile coaches for SAFE. If you were to, SAFE is a huge library of things that you can leverage. If you were to distill it down to what are the must-have things or the things that you look for, what are you looking for when you go to an organization that says, oh, we're safe? What are you looking for? What are the things that you're looking to see?
All right, so I look to see for 3 things, all right? How are they doing when I observe them on the 4 core values of SAFE? Very similar to my first answer. When I start a journey, if I'm going on an assessment, I'll look at the same things. Where are you in your journey of appreciating what the 4 core values mean to you, what the 9 principles mean to you, and what the 5 core competencies mean to you? All right, in your journey today, where do you rate yourself on these 3 things? Now, because it's at the end of the day, for me, assessment is not about to score you 10 on 10. At the best, I'll score you a 9.5 on a 10. Because one of the principles is all about relentless improvement, right? So figuring out where the opportunities are, and all I tend to do with these 3 elements is a SWOT kind of a thing: strength, weakness, opportunity, threat. Where are we on these 3 things? And that really helps me. Now, to achieve this, there are different formats, and I use the standards. I don't try to beleaguer myself from that. Is the SAFE has the self-assessment toolkit, which gives you the toolkit of the essential SAFE. If you're just doing a program, it gives you the toolkit for a solution train, it gives you the toolkit for a portfolio level. So using them, but with the lens of these 3 core elements: core values, core competency, and principles.